Combining the freewheeling antics of GTA with the persistence of an MMO, the massive mob fest known as APB hits the scene promising an online experience unlike any other. Is taking up arms in this rough and lawless land as glamorous as it seems?
¡Ay, mucha mierda! ¡Mucha mierda aquí!
Welcome to San Pero, a city host to an endless war between law enforcement and thugs. With crime and chaos running rampant in the streets, it falls on you to decide if you want to fix the city's problem or be a part of it. Your choice is at the crux of APB's faction-based MMO concept. Rolling as an enforcer sets you on the path of justice, arresting criminals and maintaining order for the good of the populace. The criminal lifestyle, on the other hand, isn't quite as altruistic. You'll get most of your kicks from running amok all over the city, robbing denizens in plain daylight.
Get off me, you sicko!
Where these two disparate playstyles meet in the middle is through the eponymous APB. As players get rewarded for carrying out their respective roles well, their notoriety rises with the opposing faction, essentially preparing you for an objective-based PvP deathmatch with players in the vicinity. Being that there are no AI enemies in the game to speak of, the idea of a completely player-run combat environment is intriguing, but definitely succumbs to a few pitfalls. The matchups are frequent, but often with players that grossly outgear or outlevel you. Certain objectives can be easily exploited into a one-sided battle, while others are just downright unwinnable. A few neat flourishes, like citywide manhunts for players on a kill streak, certainly add to the fun, but the prevailing imbalances make San Pero feel a little more reckless than it ought to be. While the emphasis is rightly on the shooting, the exterior MMO elements surrounding APB's PvP skirmishes are definitely thin compared to most. There are only 3 major districts in the game, 2 of which you actually play in, making world exploration something of a limited endeavor. If you haven't roused the attention of the other side yet, the solo activities are little more than uneventful fetch quests, built around the context of earning favor with various contacts around the city. Considering that you don't level up or traverse vast new zones in the traditional sense, the sole imperative of grinding for new guns and gadgets definitely runs its course quickly. All too often, it feels as if you're waiting for something cool to happen, rather than initiating it on your own. APB has its redeeming qualities, though. When it works, the game's dynamic, objective-based PvP provides some genuinely entertaining moments. And if you've got an appetite for customization, you'll definitely find an outlet for it here. There's also an alternative pay-to-play model for people with busier schedules, which can further lessen the required time investment. All this, of course, comes with a game that still feels largely like a work in progress. As with most fledgling MMOs, the developers are promising that future patches will address some of the issues that players are encountering in the game's early stages. But as is, APB is quite rough around the edges.
Anda, déjame aunque sea
Built as a third-person shooter with a prominent driving aspect, APB aims to be an MMO that rewards skill over time investment. But due to clumsy mechanics and a number of technical issues, the game doesn't quite succeed. Lining up a decent shot is, for lack of better words, a hit-or-miss proposition. Scattershot hit detection system makes it difficult to gauge the feedback of your bullets, and all too often it appears that shots miss targets when they really shouldn't. Considering the scale of the city and the number of players taking part in these shootouts, lag would seem the obvious culprit. The generally loose shooting mechanics, however, point to a more fundamental problem. It's obvious that APB is shooting for something big, but the game's still far from the mark. It's often a combination of the tech and hardware just not being there, but even if you muster up a rig to shoulder the game's recommended specs, APB's shooting and driving systems only feebly imitate the games they're trying to emulate. If you were hoping for an MMO that pulls off an action-oriented pace without issue, it seems like the dream is still a little ways off. If there's anything the incredibly detailed character customization step has shown us, it's that APB can look pretty darn good, but the game takes some aggressive measures in limiting the graphics of your system isn't quite up to par. In computers with anything less than 2 gigs of RAM or a 64-bit OS, the model quality takes a noticeable dip, with the textures looking like blurred mosaics. Traipsing through the busier parts of town can be extremely resource-intensive.
You said you want to
It isn't all that uncommon for structures to suddenly pop into view shortly after you've run into them. Needless to say, APB's demanding system requirements certainly don't help its prevailing list of shortcomings. But if you like music, It's got plenty of it, with GTA-style radio stations, as well as in-game voiceover IP support.
I saw a ghost. Oh my gosh.
Shut up.
Swear to God.
APB's good points can't be ignored. It's got the best spread of customization features this side of City of Heroes, and the idea of a player-driven combat environment is certainly appealing. But the multitude of design and technical issues hamper the fundamental gameplay and make it hard to enjoy without some serious compromise. Maybe one day, it'll be patched to a level where it can do justice to its ambitions. It's nowhere near there yet, though.